Alright guys, same night. Wasn't sure if I was gonna do a follow-up on this, so if I could put them together, which I have no clue how, there'll be a part A and a part B, or 1 or 2, or A1 and A2. I don't know. Either way, so good news. Mocked it all up, did the best I can, and everything seems to have worked out. I took it back apart just to illustrate. This part kind of sucks. And the only thing I can think of, let me show you real quick. Unfortunately, I didn't have one small enough. But if you have ball end Allen wrenches, remember the one that we're dealing with here on the part is a 1.5 millimeter. It'll save you a little grief, because I didn't take the rifle up and put it upside down and try to fish my little Allen wrench with my sausage fingers to reach, once again, these two little screws that are, you guessed it, underneath the barrel, surrounded by the handguard. Forget all that noise. So I came up with this way. This is just a tip, not the only way, but I think this is working out for me. Now, one thing I discovered, like I said, we needed these screws to protrude towards the gas block, towards the handguard retainer, to push against and cause the force into the receiver. Okay. Now, of course, and I'm sure they do it because they know it's going to get loose, and you can't back them out. They just get to a certain point and they spin and spin. Now, funny enough, this came from the factory. They were all the way backed out. So, wonder why I had that loose handguard. Thankfully. So, what I did was I test fitted it. And then I thought, man, this will loosen up with, maybe not 50 rounds, but I plan on shooting mines. And this isn't just a little range toy, hopefully not, but this may save my life, and I say not by hopefully never have to use it. Other than for shits and giggles, at the range, at a property, whatever the case. So what I came up with is I did the best at recording. I didn't start pulling out feeler gauges or nothing like that, but I found that this hex, where is it? This hex wrench up against was just a little bit past where the end of the screws were protruding. So, if you can't remove the screws, how are you going to get the Loctite in there or clean it? Well, the cleaning, you can't remove it? Okay, improvise. Do the best you can. I drowned it in some alcohol, blew it as good as I can after I shook off the excess, and hope that's enough, but better than nothing. So, I went ahead with that pre-measurement, recorded, not scientifically, but good enough. I screwed the screws further out or in, however you want to view it, so that I can get some blue, as I mentioned earlier, blue Loctite. At this point, might as well do red, but whatever. Blue. Let's do blue first. Put it on. Now keep in mind how much you ran out. No sense in doing more thread than that. So in my case, it was probably about a little less than 1/4 of an inch that I had to run the screw out to make contact with the retainer. So I'll put, an 1/8 to 1/4 of that with the Loctite, and then I'll run them back, and my gauge to where I need to stop pretty much is when it's just below that surface there, for my rifle, not for everybody's. Then assemble it back, and hopefully that's good enough. I found that when I did my test fit, if you recall, when I would lock this in place, really, come on, sausage fingers, sorry. It even with, when I had the handguard on and when I was taking it off, it was loose as a goose, loosey goosey, whatever. So I found that where I had adjusted it, um, it got to about that point there, I would say 45 degree. If it found the wall, and then I had to push it down a good, decent strain, not didn't hammer it, but a good amount of force it took for it to lock in, and everything was nice and tight. You'll see in just a second. So that should be good enough. If I ran it back too much or not enough, then you got time with the Loctite, so you'll be fine with that. Adjust it until you find that spot again. What I found best for me was to put, we'll just call it the hardware, into the rail as I mentioned. Screws facing back. And I just put one screw on the bottom just to hold it firm, fit it up, and lock it in. At that point, then I guess once you're done, put in the other screws, because taking these little screws in and out with sausage fingers or even man fingers, you're going to be fumbling screws and whatever. One's enough just to get it there, and then run the rest in. Make sure you don't cross thread your screws in case if it's too tight. Yeah, you'll probably run it past and strip some screws, or this sucker here. As far as I could tell and hope, I'm thinking this is actually plastic, but I'm just hoping that it's aluminum, just like the rail. And if not, Loctite still, works as a sealant regardless, so it just won't have all the strength. So once again, the red might be your friend. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And this might be a little slower, so by all means, I won't be offended if you find yourself fast forwarding at this point of the video. But I don't want to make a part 3. So there you go. Like I said, whether you can see that or not, take my word for it. Put about a 1/4 inch of the Loctite. The cap back. Well, I remember to clean it good. Then, as mentioned, get your rail. Hopefully you don't make too much of a mess with the Loctite. Remember, screws face the receiver, which is that way. Like I said, there's going to be some contact between you and the Loctite, because that hardware is a pretty tight fit in there, which is, I guess, good. Tighter than everything else is going to be, but it is what it is. That's pretty much lined up. The screws should get the rest. Like I said, feel free to fast forward. I just didn't want to stop and try to restart and have one video of it. Like I said, I'm not a media master. Should I guess consult my youngest son in this matter, but hey, it's free, man. No, I don't have no Patreon. I work for a living. This is all because you guys have helped me out, and I'm just trying to do the same for you guys and save you a few trips to the post office or UPS or whoever the hell you're going to send it back to with. Okay, so yes, we're good. So these whatever, not that I was going to put a flashlight on my sucker, but slide her back in. Is that it? Yeah. The retainer. Oh, I hope this is, you know what? I'm sorry. Forgot one minor detail. Oh, this would have been so much easier. But we have to run the screws back or it's not going to get in place. So, still going to use, I'm going to go off camera just to do my measurements. Even in place, you can get the you can reach down in there and back them up because there's no tension. So luckily, or just take that screw back out. But like I said, it's a little bit of pain in the behind to get that little adapter in place. So I had already done it before when I was adjusting everything. That looks pretty close. Quit smoking 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and I'm still on this vape thing. Alright, let's try this once more. I hate a mess, and it looks like I did get a bunch of Loctite on my fingers, which is not on the real. Let's just get this off now. Trying to keep this light to a minimum, not to blind everybody. Think maybe, like I said, guys, this is gonna be fun but doable. Come on, let's not have to do it again. Like I said, so I'll just finger that little latch just hides underneath, gently screwdriver so you don't scratch your stuff. And you see that right there, see how easy that fell over? That's too loose. That's not as bad as when we started, but so, like I said, got plenty of time to work with this Loctite. So we will run the screws out a little more. Just give me a second. Alright, let's give it another try. Hopefully that's good enough. But if not, hey man, we've come this far. Don't, you know, don't be the line, guys, and just say good enough and be done with it. Because, hey man, this is for you. Okay. Once again, the screwdriver. Now, you see that there? We got resistance. And if you remember I would almost want if you remember the beginning of the first video, it was loose. And it's pretty tight. It's pretty good, but you know what? You know, I put in this extra, honestly, probably 2 hours of labor so far, if not more, actually more, trying to figure this system out. So, it's going to be the best that I can make it, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not going off a camera to avoid you guys. I just have a better light right here off to the side. Trying to use little pliers because my fingers are really sore, but that should be good enough. Let's give her another try. Like I said, we were pretty much there, so that little bit, who knows, my luck, I went off. I want too much with it, but it's alright. If you got the time, I don't have the beer. Whatever that was. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, not an armor by any means. Before I had the right direction going there. Let's try it once more. Not because I'm embarrassed or anything like that, but, you know, this mounting system is pretty ridiculous. Come on, guys. I was going to say it on the closing, but I'm trying to kill some time here. I will say it. You know, it's a nice looking rail. I could have done without the flashlight holder or extra rails. As a matter of fact, a couple inches lesser rail at the gas block would have been perfect, but as you know, you can't build to order these rifles through Palmetto, unfortunately. And considering what we just came across and what seems to be becoming a popular item, remember this system, this rifle. There we go. So we're at about 90 degree, and she's already meeting the resistance. That's what you want. Take your time. It's not a race. This one, because I don't want to hurt my... No, okay. That should be... You can see a little more resistance, but not to where you need to pound the hammer. But I'll tell you what, I mean, don't overdo it so you don't snap anything, and because good luck replacing this if you do. Now that should be more than good enough. No play. I am happy with that. Hopefully the thread locker does its job. But I'm almost convinced that this is going to be something that's going to need addressing, whether it's 500 rounds, 1,000 rounds, 5,000 rounds, because she is going to get shot. I would say more than good enough, sexy. Not that that matters, but hey, you know, we want to look good too. Put a couple dollars aside down the road, and I hate to say it, if you really bought this for its intended purposes and you want it to be as much bulletproof as you can, you might want to buy yourself an SLR down the road. That's the only people that come to mind. Everything else, I like Midwest. I got their stuff, so see, no hard feelings, Midwest. I use you plenty. But in AKs, the limited stuff you've had out, SLR seems to be leading the game with that. Just like whether you can make it or not. Lower this. Texas weapon system. That's pretty sweet. I hate the side mounts. But that's it. Gas tube. You know, I guess might as well. You're here. I'm here. You know, loosened up from when you first took it off. Then once again, grab your 19, right? Let me make sure. Yes, 19 millimeter or equivalent. I wouldn't suggest thread locking this. Lot of heat. Take your time so you don't scratch her up if you care about that kind of thing. I do. I like pretty guns. Right? Don't shoot me. I don't know how tight it's tightened up, but that's nice and snug. And I'm not using a red dot, but maybe a high mount with a little, you know, RMR down the road. But this is more, I got this one more for my 100 plus. I have another 16-inch, lighter, less rail. Still got a TWS on it. This is from my smaller. I swapped it over. Long story, I used to have a GF3 and I upgraded to this, so I swapped it over, and it's going to be getting a Trijicon 520 soon enough. But anyway, hope I didn't bore you. I really hope this fixes your problem. I don't see how not. You saw what you got to do with the gas tube, or this particular Soviet Arms gas tube, to be able to remove it and to install it or to adjust it tight. So if you are using an Armory or whatever, red dot, here on the front, I don't think you're gonna have a scope up here. Silly guys. Then you're good to go. Like I said, I really like their stuff, and this was more for you guys. And but yeah, think of the future. If it's just a range toy, then you know what? It's a nice rail, you know. But the hardware is questionable, man. 1.5 millimeter screws, nah. Come on, we could do better than that. But yeah, once again, good night, guys. If I wasn't able to join this on part 1, it'll be labeled as part 2. But then again, you won't find that out until you see this video. That could be funny too. Alright guys, good night.